My name's Naomi Garnett and I'm the Learning and Access Manager here at the museum. My background is in history and art history, and I did an undergraduate degree in history and then a master's in art history. And while I was doing that, I volunteered in museums and realised that was an area I wanted to work in. So I got an internship at the Wordsworth Trust in the Lake District, and I worked a lot in the education side of things. So I decided I wanted to work in museum education, and I got a role here. And now I work as the manager for the National Justice Museum. The National Justice Museum is a museum about the history of crime and punishment. So the main site has courtrooms, has a prison and a police station, and alongside that we also have an education programme that we deliver in London and Manchester. So previously our education was under the name National Centre for Citizenship and the Law, NCCL. We had the museum called the Galleries of Justice Museum, and we were part of the Egalitarian Trust. And we felt that when we got funding to redevelop the museum, this was a good opportunity to bring all our brands together and become the National Justice Museum, which represents the fact that we work nationally and that we're interested in the topic of justice, but also that we are a museum, and that's the basis of our work. So our mission here at the museum is to educate people about the law, about the history of the law, but also about living within the law today and our rights and responsibilities. So we particularly do this with schools, teaching them about being a good citizen and about our role within the justice system, be that working in the justice system or just living by the laws that we have, or influencing how laws are changed. We have a range of activities that schools can take part in. Our most popular ones are courtroom workshops. We have historical ones and contemporary, dealing with various different issues, so things like riots, cyberbullying, the kind of history of how Victorian children were treated, all sorts of things. We also have museum workshops which look at in more depth at the history of crime and punishment. So we have object handling. They can meet characters in the museum, so people who would have been held here at the prison, and they can do things like Victorian CSI, where they get to be Victorian police officers investigating a crime. Through our refurbishment, we've changed some of our exhibitions. We've introduced new interactives. One of the biggest changes was our free exhibition area, where we've introduced a crime gallery, so looking at why people commit crime, the type of crimes that people might commit, and some of the theory behind that. We've also been able to bring out more objects from the collection throughout the museum and tell new stories, so not just local stories, but national stories and international stories about people from the history of crime and punishment. Schools can visit the museum and meet different characters, so we've introduced new characters around the museum, so people like Elizabeth Fry, who was a prison reformer, and John Howard, who once visited our prison, again did a lot to reform the prison system. All students that visit, we want them to learn about being an active citizen, to understand their rights and responsibilities within law, and make a contribution to their communities. So all our education activities relate to citizenship and learning about the law in some way. We have an excellent bookings team. We have 2 bookings coordinators that do all our liaising with teachers. They will send out information before the visit about practicalities, about what they need to know before they visit. They organise their timetables and can give them information about all our different sessions. We also offer free familiarisation visits for teachers, so if they are new to the site, they can come along, have a look at the spaces, see where their activities are going to happen, and they can also talk to our education team about what we're going to deliver. For us, because we are a heritage site, we have a lot of uneven floors, low ceilings. We go down into the bottom of the building where there's caves. We also run the City of Caves, which is a network of caves that they are underneath the Broadmarsh Shopping Centre. So we have to make sure that students are wearing sensible clothing, that they know that they need to walk around the site sensibly so no one gets injured. If schools are visiting our sister site, the City of Caves, they need to walk into town. So schools need to be aware of crossing the roads and the tram tracks for that. And then, although school groups are accompanied by a facilitator for most of their visit, they are on their own for lunch and sometimes when they're moving around the site, so they need to be aware of our fire procedures. We have a caretaker and general manager that do regular checks of the site and make sure that maintenance is happening around the site. So if we have any problems in any of the areas, we can report them to those people and they will be dealt with. If we have an accident on site, we record all accidents and they're reviewed so we can make sure that if there are any issues, they're addressed. And we make sure that all groups are briefed when they arrive so they know all our health and safety procedures, and we warn them about uneven floors and low ceilings and things like that. We try and make sure all our sessions are looking at citizenship and rights and responsibilities. So we hope that pupils that leave our sessions have a better understanding of how to be an active citizen and how they can make better decisions, and particularly around things like cyberbullying. We talk about safety online and things like that. We recently found out that we are a national portfolio organisation, which gives us funding from the Arts Council England. So that means that we are going to be able to get some new people on the team. So we're hoping to recruit an artistic director and create our costume interpreters into more storytellers. We're also looking at having a co-production curator who will help us bring the community in to work on our exhibitions with us. In terms of our education, we're always looking at developing new sessions, and for the end of the HLF project, Heritage Lottery Fund project that we had, we will be introducing some new museum workshops.